Hi, and welcome back to another episode of NCBA's Coffee Break, the show where we take a few minutes to talk law, policy, and occasionally question whether our coffee is even strong enough to survive today's news cycle. I'm your host, Nathan Willner, and today I have a really special guest, attorney and newly minted author Heath Morgan. Heath's brand new book, The Memory Project, is on AI and the legal world and has just been published. That means he's officially doing a lot more with AI than just asking, why does my phone keep autocorrecting tort to taco? Heath, welcome to today's coffee break episode.
Yeah, Nathan, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So we're thrilled to have you, and even more thrilled that you found the time after releasing a book, which I'm sure took a lot of cups of coffee to get through. Um, Tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and what this book is about, and how it ties into the law.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a third generation collection attorney, NCBA member, and have worked for collection law firms, agencies, debt buyers over the course of my career. And about 3 years ago, when AI technology, when ChatGPT came out, I imagined a world of in the future of technology and chatbots, and I was thinking I'd write a book maybe someday when I retired, but when that moment hit, I realized this technology was here, and so I started doing a lot of research on the technology, the infrastructure, the data collection behind it. And I started speaking on it, and I always had the idea of writing a book in the back of my head. And I gave a keynote presentation on AI early in 24, and I was the only keynote speaker at the conference without a book. And so I thought, well, if I could take some of these scenarios and really play them out 10, 15, 20, 50 years in the future, um, it could really provide guidance and structure for how we initially adopt AI and use AI and emerging technology moving forward.
Yeah, so it's really exciting. Obviously, it's new in some ways, but there's a lot written on it. Let's talk about the book itself. Your book opens with the line, and a powerful line: "Legacy isn't what you leave behind; it's what they let you keep." So that's a pretty powerful statement about memory, control, and identity. So what inspired you to build a world where memories can be edited, erased, or weaponized? And how did that idea, evolve into the broader conflict between freedom and progress?
Yeah, I mean, essentially where I started with AI adoption first, and looking at and conversations about AI, the initial reaction is either kind of this all in or all out reaction. I'm this is amazing, it's going to change my life, or I'm going to lose my job, rapture, take me now, kind of reactions, right? And I kind of keyed in on, the reason we have those reactions is because we don't really understand the technology. And so I felt if I could build out a story where we can kind of understand even 15, 20 years in the future where, the things that we think are cool or scary today, the next generation is going to be bored and inconvenienced by them. And so what does that look like when they are? And so part of the reason I kind of separated society into, kind of this all in or all out adoption, because, for clients that I work with, even though the last 20 years, we've kind of gone in all in on this adoption, this surveillance capital model where we give away our data and get free products and services for free. um, there will be a tipping point where people say, I don't want this anymore. This is too much of an infringement of what it means to make me a human. And then, those companies are going to need to start marketing to two different products. One that is a dark product that doesn't collect data that may cost more money, and then one that is free or lower costs that, free gives, where people finally, give away their data. And so, with that, I kind of imagine what these worlds would look like if they kind of evolved over a few decades over time to kind of compare and contrast what these reactions look like today.
Yeah, as I think about it, it's a little scary because some of these things can go on right now. In the novel, The Memory Project, it for those who haven't read it yet, it talks about implanting brain computer interfaces and rewriting the past of every citizen. So, what drew you to explore the ethical and philosophical consequences of merging human consciousness with digital systems? And did any real world technologies or debates influence your vision? Because some of the stuff is already out there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I did a lot of this inspiration for the book was my son, who's 14 years old at the time, and how do I help him, navigate this new world and new technology? And we took a class trip that I was a chaperone for to South Dakota, and we visited the Crazy Horse Monument, and we learned that, even back in the 1800s, Native American tribes, they did not want to have their photographs taken because they felt like part of their soul was being taken with each picture. And so, over the last 100, and each decade with each new technological invention, there is kind of part of that, right? I mean, with the iPhone, we don't necessarily memorize phone or remember how to get directions without using Google Maps or Apple Maps, right? Where there's a little bit of a cognitive loss that comes with each of these technological innovations. And so, as AI is emerging and wanting to also continue looking forward to the future, that's when I looked at, the brain-computer interface technology and how it's going to go. And if it goes the way it's gone with social media, for example, where we have a technology that we created to be a tool for humans, but if we use it in a way that we're the raw material, we will get exploited with that. And obviously, with memories, right now we still use manual prompts, we use photographs, old home videos to kind of refresh our memory. But if there's an AI that's curating those memories and shaping them in different ways, it's already shaping the way we think and shaping the way just from algorithms, that's influencing how we remember the world and our, lived experience. And then if you integrate that into the brain, it takes on a whole nother level of, you know, what's real and what's not in the world.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely fascinating. And I'm glad that you were able to use your imagination to kind of build on what's unimaginable. And so one of the characters is the Commodore in the book, and Commodore he's a fascinating protagonist. He's a content creator who makes his living questioning that boundary between the human memory and the digital manipulation. So how'd you approach crafting this character, and what makes a public storyteller like him the right person to uncover and confront a conspiracy of this scale? And is that something that we might, you know, come across actually in the near future?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the inspiration for that character came from my son, right? He's 14 years old. He doesn't have social media, but he wants to be a YouTube influencer, right? And, my job as a parent in the next 5 years before he goes off to college is to teach him how to use this technology responsibly and, in case he goes off to college and goes crazy with it, right? So it's not about no technology, no social media until college. It's about how to use it responsibly. And so, and putting him as someone who's desiring all the glamorous lifestyle of the online world, but still living in the community that's offline, it helps to kind of, compare and contrast the societies and the benefits and the pros and cons to both societies. Because, really, I never wanted to have one way is the right path. It's more of a comparison and contrasting, what happens if we go all in, what happens if we go all out. There's different risks with both.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't know if you're hearing that binging, but anyway, so your book depicts, based on that character and basing it on your son. Your book kind of kind of finds an America, unfortunately, not that different in some ways than the America we have today, where it's a divided America. But in this scenario, the division is between one side committed to privacy and the other to total technological integration. So, like, what message or warning do you hope readers take away about the future of privacy, surveillance, and the way societies might split over questions of technology and autonomy?
Yeah, I think, and to your earlier point, there are famous philosophers, speakers that have written on what post-humanism looks like when we actually integrate with machines, with brain-computer interfaces, and that technology. And it's being marketed and sold in a way that a lot of the technology, developments over the last 20 years has been. This is great. It's going to make your life easier. It's going to make your life more convenient. And, again, as I mentioned before, we've accepted that largely without much trade-off and given away more of our data. And, there really is kind of a data collection component behind it, where if these companies that, are collecting this data, they can use it and they can build out, chat bots, they can build out digital twins that harvest more information and data from you. And we're starting to even see that now in the early iterations of these chat bots and using, conversational GPTs and LLMs, that's, storing and recording data and kind of building profiles on you. And so, it's important for what it means for ourselves and our humanity, but we work in regulated industries where data privacy laws are across most states. There's federal data privacy laws for HIPAA, for GLBA, and companies just as well also need to be mindful of the data they're giving away when they're using some of these new and exciting technology tools to make sure that they're not going to be later exploited from that by larger companies, looking to kind of do that.
Yeah, so that's absolutely, very insightful. We're getting close to the end of our cup of coffee, so to speak. So, what is your final thought for our listeners, and also how can folks who want to get a copy of the book?
Yeah, I'd say for the final thought, I mean, one of the reasons I wrote this as a narrative story versus another nonfiction book, here's what's happening, is I wanted to be able to get people's imaginations going, right? And inspire, the reader to be able to think about, the different role that technology will play in their lives today and also in the future. And so, it doesn't mean it's all in or all out. There may be some technology that you're all out and some technology that you're all in. And it's important that we, as individuals, as business leaders, as law firm owners, that we think about that not just with our own data, but with our company data as well. And so hopefully it's a thought-provoking, fast-paced read that can help inspire conversations. And then also I tell parents, read it with your kids, have conversations about these ideas. It's a great way to kind of force the issue about social media and AI technology today. And yeah, the book's available on Amazon. It's in all formats, hardcover, softcover, ebook, and then Audible book. And the audiobook is great. The narrator we hired is amazing and really brings the words to life and makes it kind of a living, breathing story that can be ominous and hopeful, hopefully at the same time.
Yeah, so Heath, this has been fantastic, and thanks so much for joining us today. Congratulations again on the new book. It's a must-read for anyone curious about AI ethics and where the legal profession might be heading. And so, to our listeners, give Heath's book a read. Take a deep breath about the future of AI, and remember, it's here to help, not to steal your parking spot or anything like that. And again, Heath, thanks for joining us on NCBA's Coffee Break. Thank you for everyone listening, and stay caffeinated, stay curious, and we will see you next time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.